So what I submitted to the conference is not a paper, but actually my comic. So it makes sense that they actually accepted it. But it's just all my hard work in the 4 years of trying to do, like, you know, argue it as an actual accepted art form, seeing what the complexity is in making comics and the paneling it takes to do it. All of it is just mashed together in this 14-page comic I did as almost as an exhibit, or as almost my swan song for my comics classes, which is Shine the Way. But just so I could give you a little brief background on myself, I'm a little bit of a geek. I love heroes. I love the stories of heroes. I love what heroes can do, what they can inspire in us, what they can motivate in us. So it's always been my passion. It's always been the thing that I love either reading, doing, drawing. So, and I also love the feeling it gives in others. This is not my son. No, I'm not even related. I'm not even related to the baby, by the way. This is just a random fan, a mom's that was walking around Comic-Con, and the baby was crying. And I don't know I don't know why, what impulsed me to do it. It's like, what's up, kiddo? Like, why the long face? And all of a sudden, he just started laughing. He was just having the time of his life, and I saw what he was wearing. I was like, oh, come on, I need a picture. I desperately need a picture with this kid. So that is a very, very fond memory that actually makes its way into the comic, as you're going to see later on. So basically, it's just, I wanted to find something that I can use. How can I do all this passion, all the things I'm passionate about, and make it a career? So where do I go to from here? Do I go to an art school? Do I just wing it and just go to every single interview I can with the portfolio? What do I do? So I found my way eventually to San Francisco State. And there, in this very lonely summer class that I took, I actually met this professor that was just walking by named Nick Suzanis. And he was going to be starting the comic book program there. So it was just by chance I met him. So it was almost like everything came together. It was like, wow, so like I'm actually going to be able to talk about comics with this guy. But he kind of taught me a new way to look at comics, this complexity. Is like, don't just ignore a panel. Sometimes a panel tells you a lot of things. Sometimes a panel tells you whether it breaks, whether it's long, whether it's short. There's meanings in everything of the page. So if there's a meaning in everything of the page, you should use every aspect of the page. So obviously, some different artworks I did, some of the different projects I worked on, some of the different ways to depict comics. This is a comic that you read horizontally, but the drawings are actually like a yin and yang. You flip them back and forth. And if you don't know Dragon Ball, shame on you. But it's obviously an awesome series and you gotta watch it. So it's the yin and yang of Vegeta and Goku. But it's just a different way of depicting comics. But it ties, the reason I'm covering all this, because it ties in. Because there's a message within all these comics that I did that kind of connects. So it's almost like, as I look back at my different artwork, I started noticing that there was a connection. And then instead of ignoring that connection, embrace it and try to tell a unique story from there. So after the election and a lot of protests that happened in San Francisco, a lot of protests that happened all over the country, there was a lot of scare. A lot of people don't know how to feel, don't know how to express themselves. We all just want to do something, say something. Sometimes it's complex, sometimes it's hard to even find the words. So if there's not words to find it, if words won't do it for you, if drawings won't do it for you, do them together. And that's basically what this comic's about. So, I mean, you could easily, I actually brought a hard copy of my comic, the original pages here that you can read through. You could easily read through it. It's like, probably takes a minute, 2 minutes. But trust me when I say there is every aspect of the page, everything from the lettering, from the references, to the associations, everything was done on purpose. Why 14 pages? Well, let's just give you an example of why 14 is important. My sister Laura, my sister Janet, and me were all born on the 14th. August 14th, January 14th, and June 14th. So even in that aspect alone, there's always going to be a personal connection to everything in the page. But if I were to summarize it in a word, what's this comic about? Indifference. Do you act, not act? Do you give in to fear? Do you rally and fight back? This is basically a comic on that. And the comic itself, it moves from 2 planes, the comic book world and the real world. If it's in black and white, it's not because I forgot to color it. That's also on purpose. Everything that's black and white is references to the real world. Everything that we live in the day to day. And even the art style that I depict that is in a very manga aspect to the way I draw that art. Now you'll see two colors on this page specifically, on the page on the left, red and blue. Even the color itself signifies a mood, an emotion. Red signifies fear. Now fear can do a lot of things to a character. Fear can do a lot of things to us all. And blue signifies hope, signifies this happy feeling. You guys remember this photo, right? So I found a way to get that memory and put it into the story to tell a unique part of the story. Now this is where the big part of the story transitions, and this is what's important, is because he's remembering that memory, but he's seeing a protest form behind him. And in this reference he says, for some I was just a guy in a costume, but to the baby I was the real deal. What if I would have acted cruel and angry? What would I have resembled? Some people can resemble symbols. When we witness certain symbols, we immediately define those who wear them. Symbols carry beliefs that empower others, for better or for worse. So that, even the references of the page, sees how the protesters, almost as a puzzle piece, form a monster. The monster is in color, but he can actually see it, meaning the comic book world is actually merging into the real world. But somehow he's the only one that's be able to see it, and he's afraid that if he doesn't act or say something, it's eventually going to cause destruction. So even though against the beliefs of another student, he decides to go talk to them. And as he talks to them, I don't know if you guys, it's a reference very in your face, but if you guys don't get it, obviously it's a reference to the tiki torch people, the Nazi flag waving people. Instead of going flat out and just yelling at them, he tells them, why are you here? I want to know your purpose. What's the purpose of what you're trying to do here? And obviously, he's pushed back. And then all of a sudden, when he's pushed back, the monster becomes real to everyone. But everyone is succumbed to fear. And that's why fear dominates the color scheme on the right-hand page. And as he descends into the cave, as he's knocked into the abyss, let me just read you a little passage here, because it's very important to the overall message. A group bellowing rage, hate, left and right, and left unchecked, can grow beyond control, even beyond those who started it. Fear is effective and easy to shock people into a position that few in power can exploit. I was beaten down to the abyss to discourage others from taking a stand against it. So it's also a reference to a lot of political science stuff that I used to work on. But here's another, the most important thing, is that third color, yellow. What's yellow mean? Yellow means truth. Finally finding the light, finding that, okay, I finally found my cause, my meaning to fight, my reason for why I do everything. So he has an epiphany. If the monster can transform, well, so can I. And he remembers that memory. He remembers what he always inspired. He always wanted to be a hero. He always wanted to inspire good in others. He always wanted to bring out the best in everyone. So eventually, he starts using that same fear, that same hope, but that truth merges it together. It finds a balance between both. It's not about extremes. It's not about being on one side or the other. It's about finding that balance. And here he says, don't run from them. Make those who wield fear face their own. Your limits are not the end, but the next obstacle to surpass. Kindness is not weakness. It is your greatest strength. So here it just, you see even the breaking of the paneling, as you see as he flies up, the panel is breaking and even the panels are coming at you. How do you read it? Is there a right way to read it? No. You read it how you experience it. Which panel comes first? You read it as you so see fit. The only one that I want you to reference is at the very end is an, all right, ugly, round 2. So that's the conclusion of part 1. And obviously what comes after that, the story goes on. Because obviously as he's transformed, he could become a monster himself. What will he become? Will the people see him as someone that they can rally to, someone that can inspire them? Or has he just replaced one monster with another? And is he the only one that can transform? Hint, no, it isn't. There's many others that exist that maybe been living in the shadows, and one specifically on the left that will be his guiding star. And that concludes the story to my comic. If you're more than welcome to read through it if you want to. But trust me when I say a lot of work went into it, a lot of rough drafts, a lot of tug of war back and forth of what I really want to express, what I really want to say. It's not a call to arms. I'm not trying to get you guys to go run out there and start punching people in the face or something, and you're just like, yeah, you start trying to change the world. No. It's almost listen to that voice in you. Find the balance. Don't go full extreme to the other. Get out there, learn truths, educate yourself, and find that hero within you, and help that hero inspire you to the future. Thank you.